what everyone sees? Is that what you see, Matt?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, it's so weird that you can't see what everyone else is seeing.
So what are we doing with the link?
So you just go to joinpd.com, and I'm just waiting for more students to connect. I'm just going to give it another minute, and then I'll start it.
What was it called again?
It's joinpd.com, and then type in HXRHE. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started, but people can join at any time, and I believe it'll be up on the screen. Okay, so firstly, we are,
Sorry, what?
the code is right here up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and it's joinpd.com. So just reminders, today, MayorCheck 2.2 book work and written work is due today. So I did have some questions about, even though we do a lot of the book work together in class, most of it, you still need to turn that in. And then upload the notes for MayorCheck 2.3 and watch the video. And then make sure to come to class on Monday prepared to work on bookwork problems for MayorCheck 2.3. And today we're going to do a Pear Deck review for Chapter 1 and Chapter 2.1, and do examples and book problems for Chapter 2.2. And all these numbers are on the top of the written worksheet. So if you're ever in question, like you go, what the heck does she want us to do? Does she want us to do like all of these problems that she's supposed to know? I don't. These are the ones that I want you to do. Okay, just the ones that are listed at the top of the page. And you can also find them in the book, find them in that other link that I posted that has all the homework on it.
Can I mention something about the test?
Oh, please, yes.
So there is a test trial run that it should be up and like available to y'all. And you have to use the lockdown browser and the monitor program. So you have to have a webcam for it. And it's just, I think I set like a 1 hour time limit on it. It's just like it asks you some really silly, easy questions that should be really quick to answer. And so basically it's just like, so you can try out the program, see how it does its thing. It's going to ask to like see your face, basically. I don't know. You're going to have to make sure your face is visible. Are there any questions about that, I guess, at the time being?
When we're doing the test, I mean, like I adjust myself in my chair, it might go to my neck or something, or my forehead. I mean, does it have to be 100% visible the whole time?
I mean, if it does that, they'll probably like take a snapshot of you or something and be like, his face wasn't visible during this time. I think that's how it does it. It's got like a smart thing in there.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
I'm not really sure how it does it, to be honest, because this is the first time we're using it as well. So it's kind of all new for me. I don't know how it's gonna work on your end. I'm hoping everything works out, and if it doesn't, obviously like shoot me an email right away and I'll try to get things fixed. There's a lot of options you have to click or not click on that thing, and there's like, I mean, God knows if I clicked all of them right. I don't know.
Yeah, I've tried it before last semester, and I think if like your face is off camera, that it'll pause for a moment and then you have to readjust yourself.
Yeah, as long as I can continue the test, I think that's fine. It's just.
Yeah, it's not going to block you out of the test. That should not be like what it does. Definitely not.
Okay, here's the first quick problem. Take a minute and do that.
Do you want us to take notes or?
Just work the problems as we go, if you will. Again, this is not for a grade. It's just trying to reinforce what we've learned the previous days. The right response, sometimes I do stuff and I don't even put the right response. Are y'all getting this?
I
No,
got,
I got 2 separate answers and neither one is there.
Okay,
I got -12 and I see -12.
it is negative 12 and it's not up there. I changed this problem several times, so the answer should be -12. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not up there. Are y'all getting -12?
Okay, so first thing I got was 0, but I think I made a mistake and then I did
Okay.
it again and then I got -24.
Okay, it should be -24. Yes, that's right. It should be -24. Does
Oh,
anyone-
okay, so it is -24.
It is.
Oh, okay.
I've
That's a
changed
relief.
this problem like 5 times and I evidently did not change the
So it's not
answer.
-12?
It is -12. Would anyone like to see that? Gabby, did you say yes, you would? Okay, let me pull this up.
So is it or is it not -12 or -24?
It is just negative. It's -24. Did I say -12? -24.
Okay.
Okay. So? So if we look at this. So we have -12 minus 6 divided by 2 times 2 squared minus 6 squared. So the first thing we're going to do is what's in the parentheses.
It's 4 minus 6.
-12 minus 6 divided by 2 times -2 squared. -12 minus 6 divided by 2 times 4. Now we're going to do the division.
Oh, shoot. I forgot. Wait, so you're always supposed to bring down the parentheses? I thought.
So 6 divided by 2 is 3 times 4. So now we have -12 minus 12, which is -24. Now this one, I'll show y'all. This one, you can pick one of these colors down here and you match, you're going to match, whatever you need to do. Okay, so you just pick a color and a width and then match the simplification to the number over here that it matches.
So how do you know when to and when not to bring down the parentheses on a number?
If it's still if there's still a number that's right on the outside of the parenthesis, then you have to bring it down.
So just like, let's say I'm doing a math equation, it's like 4 plus 2 parentheses 6
Uh-huh.
minus 2. I keep bringing down the parentheses number because there's a number next to the parentheses that I got.
That's right. Right. You know what? I must have, you guys, I promise I wasn't drinking when I wrote this thing last night. Because this one, I don't know what happened. I'm sure I just forgot to put it on there, but what is 5y squared minus 3x squared?
17.
What?
17.
No? Anyone
No.
else? It's not here. That's all I know. It's not here.
Not
Give me a second.
17.
What?
It's not 17.
Nope.
5y
I
squared.
got 7.
The negative
It is-
7?
It is -7. Yeah, it's -7 because 5 times y squared would be just 5, right?
Right.
And then 3 times -2 squared would be 6. I mean, it would be 12. And 5 minus 12 should be -7. So it should be -7.
I put the x and the y in the wrong spot. Crap.
And then 5x minus 10y would be just 5 times -2, which is -10, minus 10 times -1, which is
0.
+10, right? So it'd just be 0. And 5x plus 10y would be 5 times 5 times -2 plus 10 times -1. And 5 times -2 is -10. 10 times -1 is -10. So that would be what?
20.
Which one?
-20.
Yep, -20. And then if you have 5x minus 10y, that was 0, right? And what is 0 divided by anything?
0.
That's
0.
right. So that would be 0, right? Okay, so here, classify this as a conditional, an identity, or a contradiction, and state the solution. Heavy sighs.
What's conditional and all that stuff?
That is what we're quizzing over, but we'll go over it in just a second.
Oh, 'cause I don't know. I don't know about that stuff. So
Okay, well, that's, we talked about it yesterday, so, and it was on the homework from yesterday. So that's why we're going over it now, just to make sure everybody remembers it.
Was it the variables on the left or the right?
It really doesn't matter. I usually try to get them on the left, but sometimes it's just easier to get them on the right.
Okay.
I got one person responding so far.
do we move our variables right or left?
Like I said, you can get your variable on the left or the right. It really doesn't matter. I usually try to get them on the left, but sometimes it's easier to get them on the right. You just want to make sure that the variable is on one side and the constant is on the other side. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we're going to run out of time. So I am going to go ahead and look at the responses we have so far. And so far, C is the correct answer. So when you solve this problem, what happens is everything, the variable completely goes away. And what I wound up with 32 equals 32. But you could have wound up with like 0 equals 0. There's more than one thing that you could actually wind up with, just as long as it's a true statement. That means it's an identity, and the solution is all real numbers.
Yeah, I just try to include the variable in it because I just think that's more like algebraic or something.
Uh-huh. Well, you can't, I mean, in this case, the variable just completely goes away, right? So, because here you have a 15y, and then over here you're going to have a 20y minus that 5y, so you're also going to have a 15y. So when you subtract 15y from both sides, right, it just goes away. So when that happens, it's either going to be an identity or a contradiction. And if it's a true statement, it's an identity, and the solution is all real numbers. And if it is a false statement, it's a contradiction, and there is no solution.
What's contradiction and condition and all real numbers? Yeah.
So let me pull this up again. A conditional is when you get one answer in these problems. Now you can we're going to be solving problems later on that you will get, more than one answer. But right now, a conditional is when you get one solution. Like, I don't know, x equals a half, something like that, okay? A contradiction is when the variable completely goes away and you will end up with a false statement. Like, I don't know, 0 equals 25. And in that case, there is no solution. And an identity is when the variable completely goes away and you have a true statement. Like 0 equals 0. And in that case, the solution is all real numbers. Okay.
Can't see it. Real numbers.
Do you remember that, Christopher?
Yeah, a little bit, but can you put the screen up? I can't see the rest of the bottom.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So all real numbers is like they're all equal, like they're the same.
Right, if the variable completely goes away and you're left with a true statement, right? Okay. And classify it as a conditional identity or a contradiction and state the solution. And
Sorry,
if you want,
sorry. What was
Go
the
ahead.
answer to the last one?
It was an identity, and the solution was all real numbers.
Did you have to answer? Did you have to give the equation?
So back here, what happened was, if you completely solved this, the variable would completely go away, and you would probably wind up with 32 equals 32, or 0 equals 0. which means that it's an identity and the solution is all real numbers. Does that answer your question?
Is that true? Is it 32 equals 32?
So let me show you. Let's do it real quick. So here we would have 15y plus 32 equals 15y plus 32 equals to, distribute that 2, so that would be 20y minus 14 minus 5y plus 46, right? And so this is 15y plus 32 equals to 15y plus 32. And then if you subtract 15y from both sides, the y is just completely away, and you wind up with 32 equals 32.
Oh, so basically you multiply the same y's on one side before you move the left y to the other side.
Yeah, and then
And so
the y is taken away, and so and you're left with a true statement, and so it's an identity.
yeah, because I remember because I messed up because I did it from like subtracting like the 15 y the other side with the 20 on the other side.
So this one, remember we talked about how you can clear those decimals if you want. You don't have to though. Just, I think it makes it a little bit easier. And I changed my, these should all be X's. I don't know, my brain yesterday must have been not good. The variable is an X, and over here it's a Y, but so these should all be X's. If you wanted to clear the decimal, what would you multiply by?
100.
Not 100, but
10.
10, right.
Even though there's, oh, okay, never mind.
Okay, good. Okay.
So what if we get 0.1 equals 2?
That's not right, but that would be a contradiction if you did get that and it was correct. So let's look at the responses so far. Very good, y'all. The ones that have finished it did it correctly. Let's look at how to do this. So again, you didn't have to clear the decimal, but if you wanted to, you can. And since every single one of these numbers is to the nearest 10th, you would multiply by 10, and that would clear the decimal. So you'd wind up with 7x plus 4 equals 6x plus 24. And then you would just subtract 6x from both sides, and that would give you x. And you'd subtract 4 from both sides, and that would give you 20.
So you multiply the decimals by 10 because the decimal place is in the 10th place.
That is right. You don't have to do that. It just makes it a little easier, I think. Now, if you had like a 2.45, you would have had to multiply that thing by 100. So you look at the furthest place of any of the decimals, and that's what you multiply by. Okay.
So what is the difference between subtracting? So the last one we did 15y minus both sides, even though it could have been negative or like minus 5y.
Nope.
No?
So now, say that again.
So I'm just wondering what's the difference between this problem and the last problem, because I subtracted negative 5, or I subtracted 5y from both sides, but it was 15y from both sides. And this time
It is, but see here, this problem right here. 20 minus 5 is 15y, right? So you have a 15y on both sides, correct?
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that definitely makes a difference. So here
It
we're
has to subtract
subtracting
both sides.
6x from both sides, right? So the x's don't go away, and you just wind up with x is 20, and that's a conditional.
Okay, now
Okay.
I get it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wait, how'd you get 24 for a 2.4? Because of multiplication or?
When you multiply the 2.4 by 10, if you multiply this by 10, it comes out to be 7x. This by 10, it turns out to 4. This by 10 is 6x. This by 10 is 24. Okay, we're running out of time here. So, okay. So I'm just going to talk our way through this. Let's do it since we really are running out of time. I don't want to spend the whole period on.
Is there office hours today? So I could probably.
Yeah, there's office hours today.
Okay.
Well, there's not, but I'll be here. There's not, but I will definitely be here. So this problem, let's see if I can make it smaller. So this problem is y over 4 plus 5 equals 1/2 times 2y plus 3. And the first thing I would do is distribute that 1/2. And that would give me y over 4 plus 5 is equal to 1y plus 3 over 2, correct? Everyone with me on that?
Wait, how'd you get 1y?
What's that?
How'd you get 1y?
Well, 1/2 times 2 over 1 is 1,
Oh.
right? Okay.
Oh,
All
okay,
right.
you gotta make that into a fraction. All right.
Okay, so now I'm going to multiply through by the lowest common denominator, which is 4, to clear the fraction. And 4 is the same thing as 4 over 1. So if I multiply that by 4 over 1, I just wind up with a y because the 4's would cancel. And then if I multiply 4 over 1 times 5, that gives me just 20. And then if I multiply 4 times y, that gives me 4y. And then if I multiply 3 over 2 times 4 over 1, that gives me 6. And I'm going to subtract y from both sides. And that gives me 3y plus 6 equals 20. And then subtract 6 from both sides. That gives me 3y equals to 14. And then divide both sides by 3. And that gives me y equals 14 over 3. So that would be a conditional. And the answer is 14 over 3. Okay, so the things to know that we're talking about today. So we're through with the review. I know y'all are going, thank goodness. Percent means out of 100. Anytime you see a percent symbol, that means the same thing as out of 100. So 25% would be
0.25.
25 over 100. And I don't know why I didn't write that, which is, that's where that should be, equals 25 over 100, which is 0.25.
I look at it in terms of decimals that 1% is one out of one whole. So out of the number 1, what amount of that number 1 are you getting? That's an easy way to remember decimals out of percentages.
Okay, the word of means times. So you're going to multiply anytime you see the word of. The word is means equals to. And what is always where you put your variable. So just some real quick examples, and then we'll get into the, and hopefully y'all watched the video and understood this. But if we say 25 is 20% of what number? First of all, we know that 20% is equal to 20 over 100. And if you take 20 and divide it by 100, that would give you 0.20. And so 25, there's 25, is always equals. 20% is the 0.20, of is times, and what number is your n? So we'd write 25 equals 0.20 times n, and then just divide both sides by 0.20, and we got it. Okay. Then if you have what is 20% of 125, what is always your variable, is always equals. 20% is 20 divided by 100, which is 0.20. Of is times 125. So that gives us x equals 0.20 times 125. So x is, if you divide both sides, I mean, if you just multiply 0.20 times 125, you get 25. And finally, if you say 25 is what percent of 125, it's like saying 25 equals what percent is your x times 125.
So basically, it's the same. Multiply 25 with 125, kind of.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to say 25 equals x times 125, divide both sides by 125, and x is going to give you 0.2. But now they ask you what percent. So now you have to change that to a percent.
Multiply by 100 because 100 is a percent.
That's right. Right. So basically, that's what you need to know to do today's lesson. So, go ahead and.
It's gonna be recorded for a video.
Are we recording? I always forget.
Yeah, well, I'm recording.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, thank you guys.
Okay, so let me pull up, and what I'm planning to do today, because like I said, we're running out of time, is I'm not going to, because I really think these are ones you really need to practice on your own. So what I'm going to do is take each homework problem and
I'm just gonna like use this time to like kind of like encourage people to like keep watching the videos. I was just looking at the views and it's like kind of a steady drop in the views.
oh, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean there's still like I think 14 people at least watched it, something around there.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely like people in the class are starting to drop off. It's just not a good thing. We have so much material to cover in this class and we have to cover the material. Like there's no way kind of around it.
I have a question about homework.
Yeah.
So all of our homework, you know how you go to like written assignments and it's just like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, all that.
Mhm.
So it's always gonna go there written assignments, nowhere else, just written assignments into its category.
So yeah, that's where you're gonna turn in your homework. I'm not sure what the question was.
No, I'm saying is that the only place you want us to turn it in where it says written assignments or?
Yeah. As long as you attach it there, I'll be able to grade it. I plan to grade those like over the weekend, definitely, and get y'all stuff graded pretty soon.
Just asking, not to like be a fool and.
No, that's where your homework will get submitted. There are tests. There's another section for the test. That's like right by the written assignment. They're like paired together practically.
Okay, so, yeah. So, oops,
Mhm.
that's my grandbaby, just so y'all know. What did I do here? There we go. All right, so first of all, if you look at the written exercises, I'm gonna go ahead and start with number 113, and we're just gonna do that one together just to kind of get started. And then I'm gonna do problems that are like the ones that you should do for homework. I will post the actual homework and the solutions and how to do them on Blackboard. I will put them up there so that if you want to see the solutions for the ones you're supposed to be working, you can. But I really hope you'll, because this is one of those things you have to practice, or it's not going to turn out well for you. So this first one says Philip pays $1,620 in rent every month. Do I have 2.2? So Philip pays $1,620 every month.
I tell them laugh, big streets like a building. I tell them laugh, big streets like a building. I tell them laugh, big streets like a building.
And this amount is $120 more than twice what Paul pays. Okay, so, and it says, how much does Paul pay for rent? So what we want to know is how much Paul pays for rent. The amount is so the amount is 120 more than twice what Paul pays for rent. How much does Paul pay for rent? So
Right,
16
so,
yeah.
sorry.
No,
Oh,
go
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, so what Paul pays for rent should be like X, right? We're gonna solve for X.
Yes, very good, right? Because Philip is in terms of Paul, right? Philip pays 1620, and it says is 120 more than twice what Paul pays, right? So remember that is always equals 120 more would be plus, right? Then is it twice? Yeah, 2 times what Paul pays. So I'm just going to let my variable be P. Let P equal Paul rent. It's important that you identify variables either at the beginning or the end of your problems. Otherwise, it's like, okay, well, what is, when you come down there and you go, well, what the heck is P? So 120 plus 2P. So since Philip pays 1620, the equation is going to be $1,620 equals to 120 plus 2 times P. And then all we have to do from here is solve the problem by subtracting 120 from both sides. And we're going to get 2P equals to 1,500. So P would equal to, you divide both sides by 2, 750 is how much Paul pays for rent.
So basically, we just found factors and then put them as variables and just did like one-step solution.
Right. Okay, so I'm looking at problem number 122, which is just like problem 121, which is what's assigned for your homework. And it says, when Hero and his coworkers had lunch at a restaurant near their work, the bill is $90.50. So their bill is $90.50. And they want to leave 18% up for the tip. They want,
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
of course,
What I got from our graded homework was that we would go 113, 121, 123.
yes, I'm doing 122 because I want y'all to do 121 on your own.
Oh,
And 122 is just like 121, but so I want you to have something to look at when you're doing it. And I will post I will post 121, 123, 127. I'll post how to do all of those, but I really want y'all to try to do them on your own.
Okay.
But I'm giving you examples of how to do each one.
is it okay if we put these with our ungraded assignments when we submit it, just to show we're doing the work and
Oh,
stuff?
of course,
Okay.
of course. Absolutely. All right. So Bill is
Where do I check our grades?
on Blackboard,
Oh,
and I don't know if there's any grades up there yet, but there
Yeah, I
will
don't
be.
think I have anything up there, so they're probably not gonna come up.
Yeah, they'll start showing up. I have only graded like 3 homeworks from yesterday but I'll get the rest graded. All right. So what the question is, they want to leave an 18% tip. So I would say, so the tip is what we want to know. So the tip is 18% of the bill, right? And that's what we want to leave. All right, we don't know what the tip is. So I'm gonna call it X. Is, always translate to, equal. 18% is the same thing as 18 over 100, which is 0.18.
So X equals 0.8. Okay.
What does of mean?
Division.
Multiply. Of always means multiply.
Oh,
And the bill, how much is the bill?
1950.
90.50, right. And that's your, then you just finish that out and you're through. So you just multiply the 0.18 times 90.50. And that gives you 1629 tip. Okay. And at the beginning of a problem, if you had said let X equal the tip, then you wouldn't necessarily have to write that that was the tip at the end. Okay, so now I'm doing 124, which is just like 123, which is your homework. All right, so 124 says 1 serving of trail mix has 67 grams of carbohydrates. And this is 22% of the recommended daily amount.
Grams of carbs.
What is the total recommended daily amount? So we're looking for the total recommended daily amount, and they're saying 67 grams
67 grams of 8 carbs.
is 22%. So is always equals. 22% is 22 over 100, which is 0.22. Of, what does of mean?
Multiply.
Multiply the recommended amount, and that's what we're trying to find, right? I'll call it R. So we have 67 equals 0.22 times R, and how do I solve that? What do I do to solve that?
Divide by 0.22.
Thank you. And so our recommended amount is going to be 67 divided by 0.22, which is 304.5, which is about 305 carbs. And when it comes to rounding, unless we specifically tell you where to round, we're not going to be that picky about it. So, or at least I'm not.
Unless you're talking about people, then you might want to round to the nearest person. and
Yeah,
not half people, you know.
Yeah, or dogs or something, but yeah.
I usually have a rule that I stop at like 3 decimal points. I think usually that's satisfactory.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
going any longer than that, it starts to look kind of weird.
And one thing though I would caution you about is don't round to the end until the end of the problem, because that can really make a difference in your amount. So, all right. So,
And I also hope you tip your service industry better than 16 or 18%.
you hope what?
I hope they tip their service industry people better than 16 and 18% like they were doing earlier.
Especially right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even with like 20%, it's a lot easier to figure out because you just divide by 10, multiply by 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Or would I, yeah. if you move the decimal point, like if your bill is $90, $91, then you know 10% of that is $9.10, right? And then multiply that by 2, and that gives you 20%. So that's super easy. That's what, yeah, easy to figure. All right, so so now we're looking at 128, which is just like 127. $128 says the nutrition fact at a fast food restaurant says a small portion of chicken nuggets has 190 calories. And 114 of those are fat. What percent of the total calories is from fat? Okay, so what percent of the total calories is fat? Okay, and I actually think it's easier a lot of times when you got a problem like this, just to say, okay, I have 190 calories, 114 of those are fat, and you can automatically just go 114 out of 190, and that will give you the percent. But I'm going back to the other way as well. So if you want to do this, that's fine. This will tell you exactly what it is. But what percent of total calories is from fat? So what percent, I would say X of, what does of tell us to do? Of is always
Multiply.
of the total calories, which is 190, right?
Yeah.
Is always what? It's always equals. And fat, we know, is 114. And then to find our X, we would just go divide by 190, divide by 190. So turns out to be exactly the same as that. So X is going to equal to 114 divided by 190, which is 0.6. But we're not through, right? What do we have to do now? Because it's asking for a percent.
Well, if you already have 0.6,
Uh-huh.
then just remember its relationship to the number 1, and that's pretty much already taken care of.
So, but 0.6 is not the percent. What is
Right,
the
but
what would the
if
percent
every
be?
time you're working with decimals and you want to express it as a percentage, just remember that the number 1 is 100%. So 0.6 is how much of that 100%.
Right.
And you can very easily look at it in your head and just sort of see what it is.
So what is it?
Well, it's 60%.
That's right. So that's right. So another way to do that is when you want the percentage, just multiply it by 100, and that's going to give us 60%. Yes, thank you. All right. In 131, okay, this is a, there's only one difference between this. So on 131, I'm just going to make up a problem. I'm going to say Joe is doing a really crappy job. So his wage goes from $20 an hour. They move him back down to $15 an hour. Okay. And then it says, find the percent change. Okay. So the percent change, to find the percent change, you take the original amount. Well, I'm sorry, you take the new amount. Subtract the original amount and divide by the original amount. And that's going to give you the percent change. Okay, so in this case, the new amount is $15. The original amount was $20 divided by the 20. So that would be -5 over 20. And if we take -5 over 20, that gives us -0.25. So the percent change was he lost 25% of his wage.
Which number was this?
This is like number 131.
But this one says Tamanaka.
Yeah, I made up this problem.
Oh, oh,
I
okay.
just wanted to give you a similar problem to one.
Oh,
131. Yeah, Tamanaka, I don't know what kind of name that is, but yeah, but it's the same type of problem. It's just, I just want y'all to. All right, 139, all you have to do is part B. And so I'm going to do 140, which is just like 139. And you only have to do part B. So 140 says Arrow bought a skateboard helmet on sale at 40% off. The original price was $49.95. Okay, this is where you have to be really careful, guys. Remember that you're always going to start, your starting place is always 100%.
Our percentage is 100%. Right.
Like whatever you start with is going to be 100%.
For a
So
percentage.
if you decrease the amount by 40%, that's going to be the same thing as taking 100% minus 40%, which is 60%, right? So what people do though is they say, okay, what is this problem saying? Arrow bought a skateboard helmet on sale at 40% off. People want to multiply by 0.4 because it says 40% off, but actually you have to take that 40% first and subtract it from the 100%, and that tells you what percent you're looking for of the original amount. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
All right, so if you're increasing by 40%, you have to take 100% and add 140 and add 40%, which is okay. So in this problem on number 140, it says Arrow bought a skateboard on sale at 40% off. The original price was $49.95. So the original price was $49.95. And we want to know what part B says, what is the sale price? Well, what people want to do is multiply that by 40%, but that's wrong because it's 40% off, which means you take the 100% minus the 40. And so this is going to be 0.60 times $49.95. Just be really careful about that. Um, 143 is just the same also, except for if you look at 143, it says she marked the price up by 45%. So what is a markup of 45% on 143?
.55 times.
Okay, that would be a markdown.
Oh,
A markup.
divided? You would divide?
So if it's an increase, you add it to 100%, and if it's a decrease, you subtract it from 100%. So a markup, you would take 100% plus the 45%. So the percentage that you would be, or the decimal that you would be multiplying by would be 1.45. Okay, so if it's a mark down, you subtract it from 100%. If it's a mark up, you add it to 45%, add it to 100%. Then the interest problem, we're just doing very simple interest. And the I equals to P times R times T. And this is all in your notes. This is usually the ending amount, the interest that you get. This is your beginning amount, your principal, what you start with. This is your interest rate as a decimal. And this is going to be your time in years.
We write this equation down.
It's in your, it is in your notes. So you don't have to write this down if you don't want to, because it's in the main notes, but you can if you want. All right, so if we're looking at, I'm just going to go ahead and look straight at 147. It says Casey deposited $1,450 in a bank account. So what is that? Is that his ending amount or is that his starting amount, the $1,450?
Start.
What?
Sorry, starting.
That would be the starting amount, right? So that's our P. That earns simple interest at an interest rate of 4%. So we know our interest rate is 4%, right? And we have to change that to a decimal. How much interest was earned in 2 years? So what is that? What does the 2 years represent?
Time.
Time. So now I'm just going to plug it in. So I'm looking for the interest, right? Interest equals the 1450 times 0.04 times 2. That's all there is to it. And that 151 and 157 are the same way. You just fill in the beginning amount, the ending amount, the interest rate, the time, and solve for whichever one you don't have. Let's see if there's anything I want to warn you about. Oh, there is something I want to warn you about. On the actual graded problems, I think this was a little tricky. Which one was it? Maybe not, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I dreamed it. Yeah, I don't see it actually. Let's see. I thought there was one I saw somewhere that was by month. So, okay, just let me just ask you this question. I'm not sure if there is one, but I thought I saw one.
There was
where
one by month in the notes, in the lecture notes.
Oh, got it. Right. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. All right. So that's basically it. So tonight, make sure you do the problems that were assigned from the book, and I will put them on Blackboard with all the solutions so you can check them, and then also the homework worksheet. So are there any questions? And I will stay on if anyone.
What's the homework in there? Chapter 2.2 or chapter 2?
So the homework is, what you're supposed to do tonight is, yes, the practice problems 2.2, that's a worksheet.
Mm-hmm. Hold on, let me write it down real quick. Homework.
And then the bookwork is listed at the top of that worksheet. It's 113, 121, 123, 127.
139. No, shoot. And what is it due tonight or on Monday?
This is due tonight by midnight.
Okay.
And the lecture for 2.3 should be up. So
Yeah, and so make sure you, and honestly, guys, if you need extra time on this, that's okay with me. I mean, I just want you to do it and watch the video.
So every video that they have up there is like, for example, since we just did lecture 2.2, I believe.
Mhm.
Just watch the lecture that's ahead of it, so like 2.3 or
Yes,
whatever.
that's what you should do before you come to class. You should either print out the notes or have access to the notes that you can fill in by watching the video that Matt has put up.
I see what you mean. So bookwork, worksheet, watch the video for next class and take notes of it so that way we can actually
That's right.
know what we're doing.
Perfect. You got it.
All right. Yeah, because I was confused. I was like, man, what the heck? I didn't learn this. But now that you're telling me how to watch the video, I was like, oh, okay. But
Yeah.
my bad about that.
No, we just all have to get used to the routine.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is, okay, so when we did 190 calories and 114 is fat, did you just simplify 114 over 190?
Yes.
Or, oh
So
yeah?
Yeah, so the 114 over 190 turns out to be 0.6.
Okay, that's it.
yeah, and I think whenever I did the notes for this, I talked about like looking at percentages like those two different ways.
Yeah.
It's like your part over your base is equal to your percentage. And I
Right.
kind of even talked about like when you talk about percentage, you can like, it's really easy to manipulate people by just talking about percentages, right? Because you actually have to know the base to know what amount you're talking about when you talk about percentages. So if I'm like, it went up 100%, if it's still like 0.001 or something, right? Like going up 100% is not a lot. It depends like what you're pulling your base from, right?
Exactly.
And so like a lot of times they'll use a percentage instead of using raw numbers to kind of like manipulate people. I don't know. So
Yeah,
something to be aware of.
right.
So if something goes up by 300%, what is that, like an exaggeration of numbers, or?
No,
It
No,
depends
it's
what base they're talking about. So
Yeah.
if they're talking about like 100 people and it went up 300%, it went up by 300 people. That's a lot. But if you're talking about like one person and it went up by 300%, it went up by 3 more people. So depending what you're talking about, that's like 4 people versus 400, right? It like really depends what the base is.
right. But if it says it goes up by 300%, you still would take 100% plus 300% equals 400%. And if you want to know what you wind up with, you multiply it by 4.
Well, bet.
Because if you have 100 and it goes up by 300%, you're going to have 400 people, right?
So if you talk about like, I don't know, let's say, if the price of avocados are 75 cents each and they go up by 300%, then you would multiply 70.75 times times 400?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
So that's with any number.
0.75 times 4. It's because it's 300. It's 100%. plus 300%, right? Which is 400%. And 400 divided by 100 is 4. So if it goes,
I don't know if we go over it in here, but I know in the other class they go over what consumer price indexing. So what they do a lot of times when if you want to know like the value of a good, you have to compare it to other goods, and so that's what they'll do with a consumer price index is what they do. They take a bunch of goods and then they look at like how they've inflated basically, and or what their rate of inflation is kind of.
mhm. It's really interesting. And you can see, like, for example, a college tuition has just far exceeded the consumer price index.
So you can take, so I have two questions. So one obvious is that you can take any number, like even when it comes to, I don't know, a number from stocks, like if something from stocks went up 300% from yesterday, it would be the same way of figuring that out. And my second question is, what kind of subject would you learn inflation and the math that goes with it? Is it just, it's just this, right?
No, well, the best course to take, I think, is contemporary mathematics. It teaches you all that stuff, and I think it does a really thorough job.
They should go more into depth if you take like an economics course.
Or an economics
Yeah,
course.
if you're going into like business, usually in economics, they'll teach you some of that stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I know when I went to A&M, they used to have this thing called business math. I don't know if they still have it, but
I think
they have their own sort of math.
I think at ACC they call it finite math or something. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, because it doesn't deal with, infinities. I don't know. So.
Oh, also, so these are two separate courses, or I didn't see it in the syllabus. Maybe I looked over it. I don't know how it gets graded.
You get 4 hours credit for 13, 14. Is that right, Matt? And then 3 hours for.
It's 7 hours total. I'm not really sure how they divide
I'm not
that.
sure how it's distributed either. You get 7 total hours. One is a college credit and the other one is a credit, but it doesn't apply to your degree. But it does, like if you haven't passed TSI, then if you pass the developmental piece, but not the college algebra piece, you would be TSI complete.
Usually the grade will be the same for the both classes.
Yeah.
Unless you don't pass, then we're going to look at the first 5 tests, and that will be the grade that you get for the developmental. If you pass that, then you get your credit.
Okay.
It's 85% tests, 15% other work.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes. I know we're over time, so everyone, you can log off whenever. And if, does anyone have other questions for me or Matt?
Just my last question. So basically, for homework every day, just do the worksheet, the book problems, and watch the video for tomorrow's lecture so we can know what we're doing.
Yep.
All right, sounds good. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
You too. Bye. Have a great
Bye.
weekend.
You too.
So I know you put out an announcement and you said that the test is on Thursday?